Hey, so it's me. I'm gonna get some resining done. I have a bunch of paintings I need to get resin. So I've had quite a few people ask me how I get such good results with resin. It's not easy, but I thought I would take this opportunity to show you how I do it and share some of my tips and tricks. I still have problems now and then, but these things that I do make me much more successful with the resin than I have been in the past. So hopefully these things will help you as well. All right, I have a few paintings here from my sailboat series that are scheduled to be resined. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a quick look at the back. Now this one I did not tape off because I'm using a canvas that I had used before. So I'm gonna tape that one back off. While I'm prepping this canvas, I might as well talk to you about the type of canvases that I use. I use a splined canvas. That's what this is, where there's a groove that the canvas is pushed into, rather than a back stapled canvas. With a back stapled canvas, you have a hard time pulling the tape off because the canvas itself wants to pull up with it. Also, there's an issue with the staples being pulled up by the tape and the resin as well. So these are just a much easier canvas to work with. I get my canvases either the edge from Jerry's Artorama, or in the case of this one, I got these from Blick. Very economical, especially this profile. I like the Blick ones better because they've got a square edge to them. These edge ones have a more rounded one, and I actually prefer the squarer one. So taping this off, I put the tape about maybe 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Now the other problem I have with this particular painting is that I don't have paint on the back of it. This is really, really important. This is one of my top things that I absolutely make sure that I have before I resin a piece. For this one, you can see I have painted the back. I've painted the tape. There's something that happens with resin. You put the resin on just the tape, it's going to, for some reason, go through the tape and adhere to the canvas underneath it. But it won't if you have a layer of paint. Now the paint won't go through the tape, so it's really weird. The resin won't go through the paint won't go through the tape, but the resin will go through the straight tape. So I make sure that they all have paint on the back of them. So I'm going to do that for this one. This one doesn't have it either. So I'm going to paint the backs of those. I forgot to mention that you need to elevate your canvas, and I use these giant tacks that I got from Amazon. I'll put a list of all of my products that I get from Amazon at the end. Okay, all the rest of these seem to be good. We're ready for the next step. Now, I could, but I don't have to wait until the back is dry. It's not there to be anything special. It's there for exactly what I said, to make sure I can get the resin off when we're all said and done. So, next thing. It doesn't matter how long I wait for the paint to dry. This paint is very, very dry. It's been sitting here for weeks, okay? It does not matter how long I wait. I still have an issue with paint and resin. So what I do now is I put a layer of triple thick clear glaze on it. It's the Krylon triple thick crystal clear glaze. I used my PPE for this, so I won't be talking while I do it, but I'm going to put a layer One layer, all I need, one layer on the top and the sides of all of these pieces before I'm ready to roll. So you've seen that I use these trays. These are half sheet baking trays, and they go in my baker's rack, which is perfect to put all of my paintings in to dry after they're varnished, and so that they're covered when they've been resined. So we're all set. Now we just need to wait for them to dry, and then we can resin them. Okay, now that they're all dry from the varnishing, these are all of the paintings I'm going to be resining today. And there I have a few larger ones as well that don't fit into the baker's rack. I'll show you how I do those as well. I won't be doing all of them today because I only have room for maybe 2 of them at a time. But before I get started with that, let me show you some of the environment that I have to make myself more successful with this. So first of all, I have a heater, a space heater. It's usually set about 72 to 74 degrees. It's winter right now. In the summer, I'll have an air conditioner. It is always set somewhere between 72 and 74 degrees, even when I'm not resining, because it needs to keep the resin in the room warm. The rest of the house goes down in temperature overnight, naturally. I don't know if you do that with your house, but we just drop the temperature. But this room stays like that. So that's one of the noises that you're hearing. The other one is my air purifier. This runs all the time as well. Any dust or anything in the air that I happen to have, this clears it out. And that's very, very helpful for when it comes to resin, keeping all the dust down. But while I am actively resining, while I'm actually doing the resining, this gets turned off and this gets turned off. They both blow air. I don't want air blowing while I'm actively resining. The next thing I'm going to do to get myself ready to resin is something that I do to help me with the actual cleanup at the end of it, which is I take 2 of my baker's racks. One of them I'm going to leave upside down like this. You can see they're all beat up. One of them I'll leave upside down. The other one I'm going to put some plastic tablecloth on. Now you can see I have this one here. This I used the last time I resined, and you can see there's a lot of resin drips on here. If I use one tray for putting the resin on the painting and then move it to the tray where it's going to cure, I have a lot less cleanup. So I do this. So I throw that out. I'm going to put a brand new one on. There. Now this also allows me, by putting it on this one, to be able to pivot it a little bit as I'm checking for bubbles and lint and things of that sort. So I'll have my light focused on it and I'll be able to take a quick look and make sure everything is okay. Now, protective equipment. Depending on the type of resin you're using and the environment that you have, you should use a protective equipment like a mask of some sort. Now, the resin that I use is art resin, and it has very low VOCs. In my room, I do have, like I said, I've got that air purifier going as soon as I'm done. It's been going before I get started. So I tend to not use this. I do use this when I'm varnishing, and I've used it when I've used a different resin that was heat safe for my coasters. So I still have it available. In the summertime, I might crack a window. I might crack a window today too, so we'll see. Plus, you're definitely going to need gloves. More tools. I need a mixing cup, a mixing stick, tweezers, my torch, which I'm going to reload right now. These are all very helpful to get started. But the very first thing that I need to do before I even start mixing is one of my next tips. Here's my resin. The next thing I do is something I haven't seen anybody else do before resining, but I find it very, very helpful. Here's one of my paintings. I have had a problem with resin pooling in the middle, and when it does that, it will pull from the edges, so it's too thick in the middle, too thin on the edges. I get too many bubbles in the middle. So what I've tried to do in the past is prop up the back, but what I'm finding works best is to just get the canvas a little wet on the back and stretch it out a bit. So I use a little spray bottle, get in all the edges. There. Now, watch it get tight. Doesn't take long. Much nicer. Nice, tight as a drum. All right, so I will do that to all of my paintings that I intend to resin today. Okay, that's done. Now I'm getting rid of all the water that may have splashed off my hands as well, because resin does not like water. Just saying. All right, let's start with number one. This is a 16 by 20 canvas. It has been sitting for a little bit. I want to make sure there's no dust on it. Okay. I have a 16 by 20. I have a 12 by 24. Doing the calculations, carry the one, reference the notes. So what I just tried to figure out is how I can avoid mixing a separate batch for each and every painting. My cup holds 18 ounces. So I can do 16. I will do these first. So I need 16 ounces. I start with the hardener. 8 and 8 is 16, so I need 8. Here's what I'm going to say about mixing your resin. Mix it for 3 minutes. Don't go less than 3 minutes, even if it looks like it's done. If it's not done at the end of 3 minutes, keep mixing. But you need at least 3 minutes, because you're looking at a chemical reaction that you're looking for between these two liquids. And it's not going to happen prior to 3 minutes, even if it looks like it's done. So you need to mix it for at least 3 minutes. And then we'll take a look at it and see if it's done. If you can see right now, those little ribbons, see those little ribbons? If you see any of those when you're done mixing, it's not done, okay? I'm constantly turning the container and scraping the sides just to make sure I get everything mixed well. All right, it's been 3 minutes and I'm looking at it. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm looking at it and I don't see any ribbons of silver. So I'm going to call this done. Here's another tip, use a spreader. I get these off of Amazon for like $5 a piece. I can use one for multiple sessions of resining, even though I have multiple paintings to do in each session. One thing I do is I break off the edges here I break off the corners. There's something about those corners that are just a little bit longer than the regular teeth, and they leave a line, so I just get rid of that. Okay, it's a 3/16 inch tooth comb. I have used this one once before. I don't know if you can see, but there's very little accumulation in the teeth. That's because I clean it afterwards. There's only so much cleaning you can do though, right? All right, so I have this ready to go as well. All right, now this is 16 by 20. I need 7. If you have a thicker canvas, you might want to add some more resin to your mix. But for this one, I need 7 of them. I have 16. I need to leave. That means I need to leave 9 left in the bucket. So here we go. That's about 9. Okay. That's all poured on here. I'm going to hit it with the torch once. That's going to do 2 things. That's going to pop some bubbles, and it's going to heat up the resin a bit, make it easier to spread. I don't know if you can hear how tight that is. Nice drum sound. Okay, here we go. I'm going to spread it very carefully so that a little bit goes over the edge, so I get the edge covered. Okay, now double check I've got it nice and even. Nice swipe on each side. Just one. You don't want to take so much off that there's not enough left to actually cure on the canvas. Okay, wipe it off. Next step, sides. This is when I use the drippings, just to help me get the sides. You'll be able to feel it. You can definitely feel when it's not resin and it's just canvas. Okay. Next step. Hit the whole thing with the heat torch. Pop as many bubbles as you can. And I go the other way. Okay, now I'm going to try and move you so that you can see this at an angle like I can. You see that angle there? Now I'm going to check for bubbles. And I see a flaw already. I don't know if you can see it. It's right here. It's like there's a piece of dust on there making a dent in it. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm going to hit it with the torch one more time. Okay. Now I'm going to run my finger underneath it, the edge, to get all the drippings as best I can. This is going to do 2 things. It's going to spread out the resin that's dripped underneath it to help us get the tape off when it's all done. And it's going to make cleanup a lot nicer. So now it's ready to roll. I remove it from this tray, put it back on its original tray, give it one more check against the light, looks good, and go put it in the tray. And take out the next one. Okay, let me clean up a bit and I'll show you how I do the larger pieces. The cover that I have is 2 of the plastic trays that people put under their washing machines to keep things safe when they overflow, potential overflow. We've taped 2 of them together. My husband put some feet on it. He put some feet on it. They're taped together, 2 of them. Bar across it, make it easy to lift it up and put it down. And that fits on my table and creates a nice way to keep dust off of the paintings on my table as they cure. So we will be using that. These were both 20 by 20, so they were both 8 ounces each. How close am I holding the torch? The flame barely touches the resin. But if you're going to do that, keep it moving. If you stop in one spot at all and it's too hot, it will actually cook the resin and you'll have a divot. And there's the cover. I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup. I use some isopropyl alcohol, wipe down my spreader and my tweezers and my torch, although why, I don't know. I'm such a slob. Okay, now that it's all set and ready to go, we are going to set up our environment again. So my heater is going to go on. It's going to go at least to 73, I think we're going to leave it at. It's on automatic. It'll adjust itself. I'm going to turn my air filter back on. These need to stay perfectly level, and I check level on this periodically. Perfectly level and covered like they are for 3 days. Same with this. I check level on my table periodically for 3 days. I have a level right there. So I check level on it, and they need to stay perfectly level for 3 days. So at 24 hours, you can check it, see what it looks like, but don't do anything. It's not fully cured for 3 days. So I'll see you in 3 days. It's been 3 days. Now let's come take a quick look. And that looks pretty good. You can see, the best way to look is to see the reflection of lights on it. No real issues. I don't see any bubbles. Nothing I have to re-resin for. Okay, let me show you what I do next. So I've set up this towel down so I can put my canvas on it and keep it from scratching on the front. And let me show you how I take this off. So I'm going to take these 4 tacks off. I'll clean those up later. Now, the best way to get this off, as you can see, there's paint here and there's drips. There's nothing you can gonna do to keep the drips from happening. But by putting the paint on the tape and by running your hand across it when we did the resining, it's going to be a lot easier to get off. So I'm going to pull it from the inside, and then I'm going to gently pull it up away from the canvas. And it'll just bend right over. and it just comes right off. Nice and easy. I'll do it over here. I move it back and forth just a little bit to loosen up that seam right there, and then it just pulls right off. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to put some troubleshooting shots that I've had problems getting it off, and you can see some of the issues where if I didn't have enough paint on the tape, or I forgot to get rid of the resin underneath it or wipe down the resin. It'll show you different techniques of what to do for that. Now, I always run my hand over, especially the edges and the corners afterwards, because sometimes there's a little bit of a rough spot. And if there is, I have a sanding block. And it only takes a couple of swipes to soften that enough so that it's not going to cut somebody's wall when they hang the painting up. Last one. Now, if I have a stubborn piece, like I do here, I'll use my little knife. Just go underneath it and pry it up. I'm not really cutting it. I'm just prying it up. That one, this one needs it too. Just be careful with sharp implements, people. That one's a little sharp. So that is my process for applying resin onto your art, especially if it's on a canvas, and have it come out nice and clean, shiny, without bubbles. And like I said, there are still times I have issues. So the next section is going to show you some videos that I've taken over months to compile some issues that you might have in especially taking off the tape off the back. So I will show you those troubleshooting videos. Okay, so now I'm going to clean off the tacks that I pulled off the back of the canvases. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull off the resin with a pair of needle nose pliers. It usually comes off pretty easily, but if it doesn't, I'll get it with a knife afterwards. So it comes off pretty easily. Now there's more stuff that needs to come off of there, but I can't get it all with the needle nose pliers. So now I'll use my knife. And I'll scrape off the extra paint. Check the bottom. Now I do this so that the next time I use it, it's level. Okay, here's why I use the parchment paper for cleanup, easy cleanup. If you can see that there's pieces of resin that are stuck here, they come off so easily. All you have to do is move the paper a little bit and they'll come right off. So what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll turn it upside down and just like crinkle it up over the garbage can and they'll all come off. Then I'll spread my hand over it, make sure there aren't any left. I can use this particular piece of parchment paper 4 or 5 times, maybe turn it over, use that side a couple of times before I have to throw it out. And they're very inexpensive. They come exactly the size for the sheet pans. Very convenient. So here are a few issues that could happen. You could get a lot of bubbles, and later on I'll show you why that happened. And this one is one where I got some kind of a divot in there. I'm not really sure why that happened, but we needed to do that one as well. And this one was a huge problem. Look at that divot. That was either because of me putting the torch too close to the resin for too long, or it was a drop of water. So the process for re-resining or applying a second coat of resin is exactly the same as the first coat of resin. The only difference is that you have to prepare the first coat of resin to receive the second coat. So in this case, you're going to see that there are some scuff marks, like right here. I don't know if I can get the, yeah, see the scuff marks there? That's where I had a bubble or some other flaw in it, where I've scuffed it up to smooth it out and to get the second coat to adhere. Now, if you are doing this within a day or two of the first coat, all you have to do is the spots that need it. If you've waited longer than, say, 3 days or a week, you're going to need to scuff up the entire surface. Right now, it's been 2 days since I did the first coat, and although it's still dry to the touch, it's still tacky enough for the second coat to adhere to it. So I'm going to put a second coat on, but I'm just going to do the exact same thing. Same amount of resin, same process. So after following the same process, this is what the heart painting looks like. You can't see the divot. You can't see any of those scratches. And this is the other one, the one that had all the bubbles. So again, second coat came out fantastic. I have these two paintings that I resined yesterday. This one had the varnish on it, and it looks really nice. This one did not. See all the bubbles? Let me see if I can see all those little bubbles. This one doesn't have that. This one does. So this is a situation where I had neglected to wipe all the drips off before the resin cured. And so they're now right up against the edge. You can see they're right up against the edge and even over the tape. So the only way to do that without pulling the resin off the edge itself of the painting is to use my heat gun. So let me show you how I do that. So I pull the tape up all the way to that edge, and now I'm going to use my heat gun on low setting to heat it up. Just enough to loosen it, and it should pull up those. That pulls it up very slowly, just a little bit of a tug until you feel it. And now I'm going to get another purchase here, heat it up a little bit, pull up the tape. A little warm on my hands. And that's how you get rid of that. Now it's going to leave some spots along here that are going to need to be sanded down, because that's really rough, because it's got some edges of these bubbles here, but that just takes 1 or 2 passes with a sanding block like this, right? Just a couple of passes and it's good. Okay, so here's another troubleshooting issue. As you can see right here, the resin and the paint has pulled away a little from the edge of the painting. So when I pulled it off, and I'm not worried about it. What I'm going to do is pull it just a little bit, and I have a toothpick and some clear glue, Elmer's clear glue. So I'm just going to dip it. I'm just going to dip just a little bit into the clear glue on the edge of my toothpick. And I'm going to come down here and kind of sneak it in there. Then I'm just going to press it in. And in a couple minutes, you'll never know the difference. So that's it. That's my process. And these are my tips. And I hope that it has been helpful for you. I know that this is a bit of a long video, but hopefully it was worth it for you. In the comments of the video, I put a link to all of the items that I purchased off of Amazon to help me with resining. And if you have any questions, please comment them. I will do my best to answer as many of them as humanly possible. Thank you again, and have a great day, and good luck.